Okay, welcome back to the Dhamma discussion and just homage to the Buddha. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Homage to the blessed one, worthy one and fully enlightened one. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Okay, uh, today we are going to learn a wonderful sutta. This is called Sabbasava Sutta. All the taints, all the defilements. This sutta comes from the Majjhima Nikaya, middle length discourses, and this is the number 2 of that Nikaya, Majjhima Nikaya, Sutta number 2. In that Nikaya have 152 suttas. 152 suttas, the all long size of this all suttas kind of medium. Um, the many suttas in this Nikaya, Majjhima Nikaya, is all propound teaching. Profound teaching. It's all about the wisdom, mostly focus about enlightenment, attainment of the enlightenment. This is what it is speciality, special of this Nikaya. The Digha Nikaya, long discourses, is about special about the devotion. So, in this sutta, the Sabbasava, Sabba means all. Sabba means all, everything. Asava means uh, defilements, taints, cankers, influxes, influxes, um, corruptions, and also intoxicant biases. This is how it is translated. This asava. Asava means the sabbasava, all the taints, all the defilements. You know the name uh, to the nibbana. There's another name to the nibbana called asavakkhaya. Asavakkhaya means destruction of the defilements, destruction of the influxes. Asavakkhaya. Asava means defilement, so influxes. Kaya means destruction. That's what is Nibbana. And also the Arahants. You know the Arahants, enlightened one. That's the name for him, Khinasava. For the Arahant or enlightened ones called Khinasava. Khina means destruction or faded away. Khinasava. Asava means influxes. Then the losing, destroying, abandoning, avoiding, eradicating all the influxes. Called Khinasava means the enlightened one. There's many suttas mentioned the Yo Bhikkhu Arahang Katavi Khinasavo Antima Dehadhari. So Khinasava is the Arahant, enlightened one. then the destruction of those who destructed all the influxes, he is the Arahant. Then this sutta um, mentioned the seven way of removing, uh, destroying, restraining, abandoning of the influxes or defilements. See, then Buddha was living in the Savatthi, in the Jetavana monastery. Uh, you know who built the Jetavana monastery, right? You don't know. That's very famous. We talk. If you joined us, and you remember, you could remember Jetavana monastery built by the Anatha Pindika, right? That's what Buddha lived many years in his life. That Jetavana monastery is located established in the a city called Savatthi. Then the many suttas Buddha taught in the Tipitaka we can see taught while Buddha was living in this Jetavana monastery. So when Buddha was living there and addressed bhikkhus, monks as bhikkhus, then bhikkhus said, "Yes, sir." Then Buddha said, "I'm going to teach you a seven way of uh, destruction of the influxes or defilements. Asava, okay, asava. Now you remember what is asava. There are seven way of destruction of asava. I'm going to teach you. You pay attention. Pay your close attention. What I'm going to teach you, and listen carefully to learn it, to understand it. Then Buddha started like this. Janato aham bhikkhave passato asavanam khayang vadami no ajanato no apassato. This is how Buddha began. I'm going to teach this to who who knows my teaching is going to who knows and who sees. This both are similar meaning, different words, janato and passato. Janato means know, passato means seen. The literally different word, but it is same meaning. It means to know or realizing. Um, then I'm going to teach this a seven way of destruction of defilements to who sees and knows. And what sees or what knows? Now you got to remember this very important thing. What knows and what sees? Yonisocha manasikaro and ayonisocha manasikaro. Yonisocha manasikaro. It means wisely consideration, wise thinking, and who know think wisely, and who knows think uh, wisely. Okay, this teaching is I'm teaching these things to who can think wisely and who can think or consider wisely, not unwisely. This is what Buddha said. This teaching not who cannot consider wisely. Okay, this is very important term in Pali text. Yoniso manasikara. Yoniso manasikara means thinking, thinking, thinking wisely. Then this sutta explaining how we could think wisely and unwisely. Okay, and Buddha explaining in this sutta. Then remember, this teaching to whom? To whom? Who can think wisely, right? Who has Yoniso Manasikara? Who has Yoniso Manasikara? This teaching all about all to him. Then Buddha then say again, who think wisely, consider wisely, then all the defilements, influxes, not yet arise, never arise. Whatever defilements, influxes not yet arise in him, they are never arise because he thinking wisely. Whatever defilements already has arisen, they are going to fading away. Why? He's thinking wisely. This is the very important thing of the wise consideration, right? And the other word, Ionisho Manasikara, uh, consider not wisely. The what happened to him? Whatever defilements, influxes not yet arise in him, they are all going to arise. Why those all defilements going to arise in him? Because he not consider wisely, right? Whatever defilements already have arisen in him, they are all going to increase, right? Then Buddha says, therefore, um, this teaching, I teach these things to who can think, think or consider wisely, who can do Yonisho Manasikara, who can do Yonisho Manasikara. Okay, there are the 7 way of destruction of defilements. The first one called Atibhikkhave Asava Dasana Pahatabba. Monks, there are uh, defilements can abandoned by sin, dasana, by sin. That's the first one. The second one, Atyasava Sangvara Pahatabba. There are some defilements can be abandoned by restraining, avoiding, not avoiding, actually restraining. Um, and some defilements there are can be abandoned by using patisevana. Patisevana pahatabba. By using, we can abandon some defilements by using. Okay, we're going to learn these things. How could we use them? And another way of abandonment of the defilements is adivasana, enduring. Enduring? Enduring. That's what we learned about last week. Remember the bearing, enduring. This is the one way of abandonment of the defilements. Enduring. We talked about endurement last week. Then you asked me to about the sutta. Endure. And the other way, the another one is called the endurement called adhivasana, endure. The another one is called parivajjana, avoiding, okay, parivajjana, avoiding. We can destroy some defilements by avoiding. And vinodana, the another one. Vinodana is removing. The last one, bhavana. Bhavana is meditating. By meditating, we can abandon some defilements. There are the seven way of abandoning the defilements. The first one, dasana, by seeing, samvara, by restraining, patisevana, by using, parivajjana, by avoiding, adivasana, by enduring, vinodana, by removing, and bhavana, by meditating. These are the seven ways. Are you all listening? Okay, if you have any question, ask me, okay? Don't be so quiet. I wonder if you are listening or not.
No sleeping.
No, I'm not sleepy. Oh, that's good.
I'm listening.
Okay, good.
Marcin.
Oh, thank you. Okay. Yeah, you can't sleep because this is very interesting sutta. This is gonna
Yeah.
keep you awake anyway. Not only be
Mm.
simply awake, this is make you a very spiritual awakening. Um,
Yeah.
okay, this the first one. Dasana pahata basava. Defilements given up by sin. And Buddha says, how could you uh, abandon defilements by sin? So then Buddha explained now. Okay, there's a person, Putujjano, the ordinary person. There's an ordinary person. But he is unlearned one. L- not learned. Not learned what? What he does not have learned. He doesn't have learned the Dhamma, right? You could be go to school, high school, university, you may have some degrees, PhDs, but you never learn about Dhamma. This is the talking about him, okay? Who has not learned the Dhamma? Asutava, never heard the Dhamma. And also he never have seen who know the Dhamma, who never has seen the who knows the Dhamma, never met them, never heard those kind of teachings. So he never got chance to practice it. He never got chance to practice it. But some people got chance to learn, hear, see those the teachers, and he got some chance to listening, hear. But he's akovido, he is not clever to practice it. Akovido. He's not skillful to practice it. And avinito, he's not training himself well. So what does? And he is not a skill and training the teaching of the enlightened ones, teaching of the noble ones, teaching of the good people. It means actually enlightened ones. Then what he does? He never seen, never heard, never seen enlightened one, never heard the teachings, and he's not skillful and clever to practice and training. So what he does, he going to consider unwisely what is not supposed to consider. Right? He's going to think about what is not supposed to think. And he is going to consider, he's going to think what is not supposed to think. Okay, he is not thinking, he's not considering wisely what is he supposed to consider. Right, you got it? You got it? Now he's not thinking what is supposed to think, and he think what is not supposed to think. Okay? So when he doing this, what's going to happen? Then whatever desire, craving for sensual pleasure not yet arise about the desire for the sensual pleasure, what is not yet arisen, and it is going to arise. It's called Kamasava. Okay, Kamasava. There are three major asavas. Okay, remember, remember this. There are three major asavas in this sutta, explaining in this sutta. Also, there are many suttas explaining these three types of major asavas. First one is a kama asava. Asava influxes about the sensual pleasure, or influxes about the existence. Bhavasava. Bhavasava is a desire or craving to exist forever, living eternally, exist somewhere forever. This is called bhavasava, the craving for existence. That's another asava. And another one, avijjasava, um, the influxes about the ignorance. Ignorance. Okay, there are the three major asavas. But some suttas, very, not a very commonly, but some suttas and in the Abhidhamma explaining there are four of asavas. The other one called ditthasava, the influxes of the view. Okay, in this sutta explaining there's three asavas, but all the whole thing, all the defilements included to these three. Okay, the the kama asava, first one is a desire for sensual pleasure. The influxes about the sensuality, kama. Then when we think unwisely, whatever unwholesome thoughts, bad thoughts haven't yet arisen, and they are going to arise because we think badly and wrongly, unwisely. Then whatever never yet arise, and there's those all going to arise. And when you think badly, wrongly, whatever the defilements we have is going to increase about the sensual pleasure. And also same thing, uh, not yet arisen the defilements about to existence for forever. When you think badly and wrongly, and that desire going to arise. Whatever desire we have for eternal existence, and it is going to increase when we think wrongly and badly. And then whatever defilements not yet arisen about the ignorance, and this all going to arise. And whatever ignorance we have, when we start to think badly and wrongly, that ignorance going to increase. If you have a question, ask me, okay? So then Buddha says here, Ime Dhamma manasi karaniya, ye dhammena manasi karoti. Now then who has the ayoniso manasikara, unwise consideration, then he is going to think about these things. How he unwisely consider. He unwisely consider like this. Ahosi nuko ahang atita madhana. Did I verse before? Did I verse before? Verse I am in the past lives, in the previous lives. He is thinking now. He's thinking. Did I verse before? Did I verse? Ahosi nuko ahang atita madhana. Did I verse before? I was thinking about that very always. Always. It's okay, it's come to your mind, that's okay. But if you're going to it again and again, if you're going to think about it again and again, did I verse? Did I verse? And nanuko ahosin atita madhana. Did not I wasn't I before? Wasn't I before? Wasn't I before? And he's thinking, wasn't I before? Kinnuku ahosin atita madhana. Who was I am? Who was I? Who was? Who was I? I, yeah. Who am I? Was. Who am I? Was. Right? Who am I? Was. Who am I? I was a human, or I was an animal, or I was a deity, whoever I was. Now he's thinking. But this is not supposed to think. He's thinking. The experience. Katanuku hawasing atita madhana. How was I? How was I in the past? Then he thought about the who was I. Now he say, how was I? How was I in the past? This is all about the past life. There are five way he is thinking bad, the wrong way of thinking past life. How was I? And king hutwa king ahosin. How was, who was, and who became in the past life. Who was and who became in the past life. These are the five ways about the past life. Was I am, was I am not, who was and how was I. Okay, this is about the past life. Now he thinking about the in future. Will I in future? Will I in future? And will not in future. Will not I in the future? And how will be in future? Okay, and being who and will become of who in future. That's the same thing about the past life he consider and he thinking about the same way about in future. So this is how he thinking about his past and future. Now about the present thing, present life. He think about the present life. Aham nukosmi. Am I? Am I now? Am I now? And am I not? Am I not now? There are many things. Some people, the teachings, that's why people are getting confused. Some people say there are no world, there are no being, there are no existence, there are no, it's like all about the dream or something like that. That's a one way. The people always think in the one way. This is not supposed to think. Um, then now he think about the present. Am I or am I not? Uh, and who I am and how I am and where I come from, where I came from, where I came from, and where I am going, where I will going, where I will going. Okay, now I thinking about these kind of things. Then Buddha says, when he consider in this way, there are six views going to arise in him. Six wrong views going to arise in him. Hmm, okay. Uh, Six wrong views going to arise in him. Why these six wrong views going to arise in him? Because he is considered unwisely. He think badly. He think wrongly. What about he thinking? He thinking about the past life. He think about the future life, and he has a confusion about the present life. So now there are six views going to arise him. First one, attime attativa asa satchato tetato ditti uppajjati. Now he's going to uh, do I have a soul? And he's going to thinking the view myself exists in an absolute sense. Now you think I have a soul. This is the one wrong view going to arise in him. I have a soul. Satchitut, absolute soul. Exactly, there's a soul in me. Tetatu, and he firmly going to believe he has a soul or eternal entity, and this view going to arise in him. If not, nattime attati vasa satchato tetato ditti uppajjati. There are no soul. There are no soul. There are no existence. There are no sentient being. There are no any existence in me. There are no soul, and he's going to firmly, strongly to believe it. This is another one wrong view. And attanava attanan sanjanami itiva adityupajati. I have a soul. By my soul, I'm going to realize my soul. Okay, I'm going to see my soul with my soul. If not, with soul, I'm going to realize what is not soul. Attanava anattang janami. I have a soul. With soul, by soul, with soul, I'm going to realize and recognize there are no soul. This is a confusion. And he also going to realize without soul, and he's going to realize soul without soul. Okay? With non-soul, and he's going to realize soul. Or self without, with non-self, and he's going to realize self. Okay? Are you confused? Don't worry about much, okay? This is just the details, okay? This is now, this is okay. This is just the details and numbers. This simply means the wrong view, right? We're going to arise. Why? Because unwise consideration, right? Right, Anthony? Mm. And he also is going to think in this way, Yome ayang atta vado vedeyo tatra tatra kalyana papakana kammana vipakam patisang vedeti. Whatever I'm going to do, good or bad, I'm exactly going to experience it or having result. Okay, whatever I do, I'm going to receive those result. Whatever I say, whatever I do, good or bad, and this whatever with self I'm going to do, that self going to experience it. Then the idea view about the self going to be nicho, and he thinks this is permanent self in me, because whatever I do, whatever I say, I will experience it exactly, absolutely. So I have a self permanently, eternal self, duo, so very firm, sasato, never die, eternally exist. Aviparinama Dhamma is never going to change. And this is what is the view he's going to have because of his bad consideration, bad thinking, and wrong thinking actually, wrong thinking. And Buddha says this is called dittigatam, a thicket of view, thick, thicket, thicket of view. Dittigahanam, the desert of view. Dittikantaram, desert of view, desert of view. You know, desert of view. And ditti, like a forest is the, the whole the thicket thicket of forest. This is called the thicket of forest of view. Ditti Vishukam. Mm, uh, Evanson. Events, I don't know that word here. Eventiveness, something. Eventiveness of view. Ditti Sanyojana, the fetters of view. And Ditti Sanyojana Sanyutto. It's a combine of the fetters of view. This all mass of views, wrong views, going to arise him who consider unwisely and or wrongly. So Buddha says this person, this unwise person who is considered unwisely, he is going to. This is the very ordinary asutava, unlearned, unheard Dhamma. This putujjano, ordinary person, never going to free from suffering, never going to free from birth, never going to free from decay, never going to free from death, never going to free from sorrow, lamentation, uh, despair, displeasure, and all the mass of suffering. He is never going to free. And Buddha says finally, "Na parimuchyati dukkasma vadami." I say he never will free from suffering because of that unwise consideration, the thinking wrongly. The same thing if who's going to think wisely and it's happened to opposite thing, right? I don't have to explain, it's become boring, right? Getting bored, right? Don't get bored. Who is think wisely? It's the opposite thing come, then that's the man who think wisely, and he's going to end up all the mass of suffering, right? And he's the man going to end up all wrong views. He's going to no thicket of wrong views. There are no forest of wrong view. There are no desert of wrong view. There are not fetters of wrong view. There are no wrong view because he is considered wisely. And Buddha says, who consider wisely, uh, now he's not thinking, remember, about there are 5 ways thinking about past lives, 5 ways of thinking about the future lives, 5 thinking about the present life thinking. Um, then the who is not thinking those kind of things. He think wisely. All the desires about the sense of pleasure not yet arisen and never arise. whatever desire, sensual pleasure now he have, and he think wisely, and all going to fade away. About the sense, and also about the existence, about the ignorance. This all going to fade it away. So it's almost to end of the session, the time. Let me uh, explain another one. And Buddha here says, who's consider wisely. Remember, okay, Yoniso Manasikara, wise consideration. Wise consideration. This is the most important thing in the whole Buddhism. Buddha said once, I teach Dhamma. To whom? Who can consider wisely. That's the person Buddha teach Dhamma. Who not consider wisely is nothing usage of this teaching, right? You hear this teaching now, learning, but you not consider wisely. If you come back to again your wrong views and to your unwise consideration, this is not going to work. And we have to think, the listening, hear, and also have to wisely think. Follow your intuition, okay? You have to follow your intuition. This teaching never going to work without your intuition. If you not put your wisdom, your understanding, uh, your clever, skillful skillness to this. So when you consider wisely, and he's the person, and Buddha says here okay, and I forget to say one thing. What is exactly wise consideration? Buddha says, Ayang dukkhanti pajanati. Now he's going to think about the suffering. Now he's going to think about the suffering. He's going to realize suffering. He's going to understand suffering. Unsatisfactoriness. Okay? Unsatisfactoriness. What is this life? What we experience in this life? What we are experiencing? Dukkha. Right. If someone going to think about it, what is life? What we experience? Why we live in? For what? Do we have the purpose? Do we have achieved the purpose? The whatever we looking for, we are. If are we satisfied? Am I satisfied? I'm. Then he's going. If you're going to think, and maybe he's awakening. He's realizing the reality and true nature, right? And whatever the reality and true nature uh, going to reveal by him, whatever he reveal, he going to reveal this is unsatisfactory, this is pain, this is suffering, and also there are happiness too. We enjoy, we feel happiness, we enjoy. There are happiness, and also there are suffering too. There are suffering too. But we all believe this life, human life, is not the final destination. Nobody wants to stay here. It is very dangerous. Nuclear the attack, we don't know. It's happened in the past. We wish and we pray not to happen it, right? But we are on the fire, right? We are unsafe. We are not secure here. We are developed. Hmm. Mm.
But like example, I hurt my foot,
mm,
created problems, imbalance in the body. Next thing you know, I have water in the body. I can't walk.
mm,
I need a cane. I need a medical boot. I may need a wheelchair,
mm,
like a surgery. All of a sudden, from like just the simple fact of walking to now your life is in crisis, you obtain a completely different view of everything around you. You wake up in the morning and you are grateful that you can just open your eyes and you're pain free. You
mm,
can get to the bathroom and you're pain free.
mm,
You can put on your undergarments.
mm,
You can reach things. When you're sick,
mm.
you can't do those things. And if you don't have the resources, especially in America in these modern times, it's not like we're in India, Sri Lanka, all these places where you have a whole staff. You have your own cook, you have your chauffeur, your staff. I mean, we're like self-reliant here. People are working 2 to 3 jobs. The moment you complain about something, they let you go. All of a sudden, you're in a crisis. I mean, we're like warriors, like Rambo in this country.
Mm,
Um, so when when stuff like that happens to me,
mm,
I get a complete different appreciation for what life is,
mm,
for the body.
mm.
The body is a vehicle to self-realization. Without a good, healthy body, you can't get anywhere. Like my crisis was created mostly
Mm,
because I wasn't eating correctly. I heard the Buddhist teachings 20, 30 years ago
mm.
where, you know, Bhikkhu Bodhi, like one of the most senior monks who still is alive, and he is one of the most senior monks, said to me, when you're thirsty, you only drink water. When you're
Mm,
thirsty, you
mm,
drink water. Did I do it? Absolutely not.
mm,
I drank everything else, coffee, juice, you
mm,
name it, I drank it.
mm,
The same thing, when you're hungry, you eat to live, you don't eat to enjoy. Did I listen to that also? No.
right.
Did I have problems? Because yes, mentally, physically, and everywhere I had problems. So
Yeah. So
those
your point of view is
the point is
mm,
when we have the suffering helps to open the heart
mm,
because we understand
mm,
the suffering of other people and then we change within.
right.
We see what the purpose of life is and then we help other people.
Mm,
Like we help Mother Earth because we understand she gives and gives and gives and gives
mm,
and gives, and the sunshine gives and gives, and the same for moonshine, they give, and the waters are free, and the fruit is free. Everything that comes from Mother Nature is free.
mm,
Every single thing that the man does is
mm,
greed and greed
mhm.
and greed. And if you take these teachings,
Yeah, that's
the
true.
teachings are coming and they're passed down generation by generation from teacher to student, teacher to student, teacher to student for free.
Mm,
And in this modern day era, everything has been cheapened. We have temples are not packed because many teachers are no longer pure. They're not following
okay.
the teachings.
Uh,
And
yes.
yeah, so all this, so to me, suffering
Mm,
is the biggest gift.
mm,
And the biggest gift is when each of us changes within and we help other people to rise up.
that's right.
Maybe we're not like Amitabha, we're not Kuan Yin, but wherever we are, we at least showed up at the temple.
Yes.
And what we can do here, what I see, number one, we
Mm,
need to create a sign in several languages and put it outside of our temple saying,
mm.
this is a sacred space.
Yeah, I got it.
No alcohol,
Mm,
no drinking, no no drugs permitted, no trash permitted. This is a sacred space. We
mm.
need to put outside, make
Okay.
show up for an hour or two before, volunteers, and we clean everything up if there anything is. We
Okay.
create a sacred space and teach other people to do the same thing.
Okay, Jill, thank you so much, and I appreciate your the details of this. You said that's right. The suffering is the gift. Yes, we all suffer. This is a gift for us to awakening. And if some people get misunderstanding about Buddhism, all about suffering, this is not Buddhism talk about the suffering reality. But we all believe we are not safe here. We are not satisfied here. That's why we all believe to go somewhere, to go some heaven. Nobody want to stay here. Some people believe the peace could be in the heaven, happiness could be in the heaven, right? That's what many people believe. Some people not believe anything and they just stay until to death and they die. That's all. But in the Buddhism, is all about the realizing, awakening, the understanding, the reality, true nature of us. And there are reason for suffering. There are reason for happiness. There are reason to suffering, there are reason to happiness. There are way to suffering, there are way to happiness. This is our responsibility to understand what is the happiness, what is the suffering, what's the real right way to happiness or suffering. This is what is the all about the awakening, all about the teaching of Buddha. So that's this gift if someone thinking about the suffering or unsatisfactoriness, that's the one way. Not only that, and there's the way the root of suffering, origin of suffering. This is the second way to we have to think. What's the cause for this suffering? Why this suffering arise? Why this suffering exists? What's the root? What's the cause? The origin of suffering. The thinking about it. The thirdly, the cessation of suffering. How could we end up this suffering? How could we remove this suffering? How could we make end of this suffering? That's the third one. We have to think. How could we make end of this unsatisfactoriness? And how could we achieve happiness, right? The right happiness. And the fourthly, what's the way? How could we do that? How could we do that? The way of that happiness, what is that? How could you train it? How could you practice it? If someone think in this way, and Buddha says he's going to make the end of suffering, and first, especially Buddha says he is going to lose three of these. The first one, Sakkaya Ditthi, identity view. He's going to lose that. Vichikicha, doubt. He's going to lose it. And Silabhata Paramasa, and strong attachment to the rituals. Okay, he's going to lose these three. He's going to lose these three of the fetters, especially fetters. Okay, identity view, doubt, and attachment to the rituals. He's going to lose these three fetters. This is called enter into the stream. Well, stream enter sotapanna, and he become a stream enter sotapanna. And this is how we eradicate and get rid of or abandon, remove defilements by seeing. Okay, this is the first way. We learned today the first way of seven, the first one way of seven, destruction of defilements, and this is for teaching today. Do you have any question before we end up the session? Mm, mm,
That's the medicine land of medicine Buddha. If you go to Pure Land, that's land of Amitabha.
mm,
You just go through there usually by compassion.
mm,
But then there are also the hell realms.
mm.
So maybe not today, but how do you explain, based upon our karma and our actions, where we wind up and how do we help ourselves, our family members, and our ancestors?
You means where we how will be both be there? Go in the
How do you change our karma? How do we change our family karma? How do we, like, let's just say family illnesses run in lineages, family addictions run in lineages, things run in families for a reason because of past karma and sins. How do we change it? What rituals do we do? What do we do to change the karma of our,
what's the exactly mean family karma?
so let's just say, like some people who have alcoholics in their family,
Hmm.
it's passed down from
The addiction
generation
you
to
means that.
generation to, how do you change it? If you see your family, and all of us usually know our families better than anyone else,
Mm.
without someone taking sannyas and becoming a monk or a nun, how do we change that? Like, let's just say we see in our families, in some families, people are drunkards, some families
Mm.
they're gamblers, some families they philanderers, they sleep around, some people they're thieves, some people they're liars.
Mm.
How do we change that through Buddhist Dharma in our family, like lineage. Or like, let's just say here, we see people are using drugs in this neighborhood. Alcohol, drugs, trash, consciousness needs to rise. What do we need to do to change things? To alleviate suffering, because the point of suffering, to alleviate suffering, to bring people to bliss through Dharma.
I got it. Your point? This is how how could you do that? We learn now the first way. Consider wisely, okay? I think you got it. We can do it by wise consideration. Start to do wise consideration. That's how the one way by seeing. This is the one way. Any other question if you have before we end the session? No. Okay. Let me the end of the session and transfer merits to the departed ones, uh, to our ancestors, to the ghosts, to the gods, to all sentient beings. Share these merits. By meditating and discussing Dhamma, we accumulated good karma. This all good karma share those all sentient beings and be born in happy realms. And by the blessings of the Buddha, Dhamma, and Sangha, by the power of these merits, you live long, happily, peacefully, without any afflictions. And finally, may we all be able to attain to enlightenment. Akasattha cha bummattha deva naga mahidika punyantang anumoditva chirang rakkantu sasanang chirang rakkantu desanang chirang rakkantu mamparang sabbhitiyo vivajjantu sabbarogo vinasatu mate bhavatmantarayo sukhi digayuko भवतु सब मंगलं रक्षन्तु सब देवता सब बुद्धानुभावेन सब धम्मानुभावेन सब संघानुभावेन सदा सुखी भवन्तु ते साधु साधु साधु.
Thank you, Bhante.
Okay, join us next week to continue learning the rest of things. Okay.
Okay.
Michael, thank
Have a
you.
good evening. Okay.
Teruan
Everyone have a
Saranayan.
nice
Everyone,
Thank you.
Teruan
thank you.
Saranayan.
Thank you. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Master Suboda.
He can